Well, hello, everybody. My name is Sean Cacaro alongside Vincent Massico on the second episode of the Pinstripes and Piledrivers podcast, where we're going to talk about all the latest Yankee news from this past week as we already move into the second week of spring training games. Man, time is flying. And thank you once again to anybody that may be coming over from the Big Blue and the Bronx crowd. Thank you for joining us in the stream we did on Sunday afternoon when the Tigers took on the Yankees. Obviously, not the result we wanted. The Tigers with the shutout victory. Yankee offense was stifled all game to say the least. But thank you again for those who may be coming over. We'll be doing this at least once or twice a week. When this regular season is here, we'll ramp this up a lot more. But lots to come. We got a lot to discuss today. First, I want to discuss one thing that seems to plague the Yankees, no matter whether it's spring training, regular season, postseason, off season, it does not matter. The injury bug. And the biggest one I want to talk about is Giancarlo Stanton. Right now, dealing with tennis elbow in both elbows. His status in for opening day is uncertain. Vinny, why? Why has it got to be us? Why us? It feels like no matter what, we cannot escape the injury bug. Now, what scares me is he dealt with this all of last year, including the playoffs, and it's gotten to a point where he's in so much pain he cannot swing. Vinny, initial thoughts?
Um, I mean, this is like every year, seems like,
Mm-hmm.
with Giancarlo, and it's it's tough to. I mean, I guess Michael K asked it best. Would you sign up for Stanton playing 50 games in a season and then showing out in the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want Stanton 120 to 150 games during the regular season and possibly being hurt for the playoffs, or maybe not being
Not
prime
wrong.
time Giancarlo? But
I feel like he shows up either way though, because last year he played a good amount of games and he ended up being. I know we didn't win it, but he would have been our MVP for the playoffs.
I mean, he was MVP in the ALCS, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, he was ALCS MVP. So, I just, man, a lot of people were saying like, oh, well, during the regular season, we think about it as like, you know, I would rather have him in the playoffs. There was a lot, you believe it or not, there was a lot of people saying, as long as he's healthy for the playoffs, I don't care,
Mm-hmm.
which
I
was a
agree.
surprise to me because I guess we're asking too much for him to be healthy for when his
Well,
MVP
he's
season, his
getting up
MVP
there,
season, he was healthy for 152 games, I
and he's
believe.
getting up there in
We're
age.
not seeing that anymore. We're
He's
not
not a
going to
young
see 100.
guy.
Well, we're not going to see
But the
152.
one thing I think we need to emphasize too, Vinny, is yeah, he played 152 games his MVP season, but we got to remember something. Even when he was a Marlin, he was very injury prone, and I think that's just something that kind of came as a surprise to Yankee fans when I really don't think it should have. If you understand what I'm saying, it just what my problem is, and I kind of alluded to this on the stream with you and Luca, is this seems to be a recurring problem with the Yankees. And I'm going to give you three examples. Now, obviously, this is one. Let's talk about Jason Dominguez. He had his elbow injury, told the Yankee staff the elbow was bothering him a little bit. Yankees let him play anyway, and then we found out he had to get Tommy John to have that elbow surgically fixed or whatever. He had to have surgery on it, Tommy John surgery. So an injury that they played off turned out to be a disaster for Jason Dominguez. And then you look at Anthony Rizzo. What was it last year? Last 2 years, he gets injured. He has the concussion, and the whole year he's playing with concussion-like symptoms, and the Yankees put it off aside. Something needs to change with the way these guys are being managed when it comes to the injury bug. Look, Vinny, you saw it in our episode last week. We argued, I think, for half the show about how the team is run and the management style and this, that, and the other thing. Look, put that all aside. The injury bug, whatever it is, whoever's managing how these situations are being handled, needs to change because this is happening way too much. One player too much to begin with. I just gave you 3 examples right there, and I'm sure there's probably more, but those are the first 3 that come to mind. Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, let's look at the Stanton injuries are
Happen every
bad.
year.
They happen every year. The LeMahieu stuff, I don't know if that's necessarily like just bad luck or I don't know about
I
that. The
think that's a
Rizzo stuff,
mixture of luck and
the
age.
the Rizzo stuff last year could have been
Prevented.
prevented. Okay, so that's one negative to them. When Judge got hurt, that was a freak thing that happened.
Yeah, that was out of his
You know,
control.
that's not, you can't help that. But I hate to give them like all these excuses and stuff, but yeah, I mean the injuries have to stop. But you know, I think Cashman said it, and nobody really wanted to say it. The guy, you're not going to count on the guy for,
No, you're not.
you know.
But my point being is, look,
Um,
injuries happen. I get that. It's
but
the management of the injuries that bothers me.
so then,
That's my problem.
how would you have managed Stanton?
You let him recover. He would have
Okay,
been stronger in the playoffs. Look, if he did that with double tennis elbow or about to be double tennis elbow, imagine how much more he could have been had he went into that healthy.
so it's one thing to tell a player you need to rest and sit. It's another thing to tell a player when they really want to play that they think that they, you know. Here's the thing: if the trainer's going to tell you that he's ready to go, then it's the trainer's job.
Okay, but let me ask
And it
you
must be
this.
the trainer's fault because if they're ready, if they're being told they're ready to go.
Okay, so let me ask you this. All right, Stanton's a long-time veteran. I can understand that argument from Stanton's perspective. What about Jason Dominguez, who was what, 19 years old when he started playing for the New York Yankees and he had that elbow issue? I'm sorry to say, this if you're right and the trainers are saying that they're ready to go, maybe you need to consider a new trainer.
So but that's the thing is we don't know how that works. So you can't really put blame on anyone. You could blame the organization as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think you could blame like you can't just blame Boone or
No,
Cashman
I'm not blaming
alone.
Boone or Cashman.
It's a
I'm talking about the medical team,
it's a
the
medical
trainers.
it's a trainer's issue. And but sorry to say, but when uh what was his name? Gene Monahan was
Mm-hmm.
around.
Yeah.
This really honestly, this never happened.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Because he was a professional. So either it's the players not being honest with the trainers or the trainers just thinking that they're I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I don't
No,
know
we're not.
what the deal is. So, but if the trainer says he's good to go, he's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
I look.
the
I'm
whole
not saying you're wrong.
situation.
I'm just saying this is something that the Yankees need to
And we have to,
address
yes,
and figure
definitely,
out because
definitely,
it's every year. It's
definitely. I
every
agree.
year. So
I agree. I agree. It's
we'll
got to
see. I
be.
mean, look, the way I look at it, you play in New York City. You got the best doctors in the world there. Find one. Please, just one.
But then, like I've heard these guys going for second opinions and stuff,
That
and
too.
getting,
But I think that's normal
you
with
know,
every
so
team. I think that I think that's normal.
they,
But
but you know, when they
mhm,
especially go when they're like LeMahieu when they wanted to shut him down for the season.
right.
He wanted to go for a second opinion. That's a player's choice, really,
Yeah,
honestly, if you
that you
think about
can't
it.
control that at
Because
that
the
point.
player, right? Because the player wants to play and he wants an opinion of like, yeah, he could play,
Mhm.
and he doesn't want to be shut down. So,
Right.
in the spirit of like competitiveness, I kind of like it. But then if he can't go, he can't go. You know, you
Right.
can't. But yeah, you're right though. Something does have to change either in
The
training room
trainers
or
or
the trainers, something.
something. Like you said, we don't know the full story behind it. We don't know the backstory, but it definitely isn't a coincidence. I will say that. So, moving along, we have a couple other little news topics to hit. Aaron Boone, as you and I both expected, as we argued about last week, got his contract extension through 2027. So that ensures that he will be here for at least another, what is that, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. So I don't know that they actually, I don't think we ever heard how much he's going to be getting from it. I don't know if you saw anything. Um, but he is going to be here. We both expected it. I don't like it. Vinny, he's accepted it. I've kind of learned to accept it, but it is what it is. We just gonna roll the dice with that, and we'll see how he does. I mean, we know we're going to be guaranteed the regular season success, and you know what? It could evolve from just some of the mistakes. I think you could get a much different outcome. So I'm rooting for him to. I'm rooting for him to succeed, but I'm not gonna get my hopes too high. So
Okay, so it says financial terms of the extension are not disclosed still.
okay, so not that it really matters anyway, but the only thing that I wonder is if he's going through till 2027, what happens if the lockout happens? Like we kind
I
of
would.
talked about, because then
You're still
he ain't getting anything.
well, yeah, you're not. Are you? So if you're a manager though, does
No,
the
you're not.
lockout affect you? You're not. You're not
Nope.
getting paid.
Yeah, it does
But you're
because
not. But he's not a. He's not in the union though.
well, so
It's
from
like
what I
it's like
remember from the last lockout, which we just had 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was the only
managers didn't get paid either.
I don't think so. I think the only people that were allowed to
That's
play
weird.
were
That's
the
very
were the
weird.
minor leaguers. That was it. That was the only
That's weird
thing.
that the managers wouldn't get paid since they're not in the union.
I don't. I wait. Look, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
From what I remember, when
and you could be right, but I just figure
yeah,
I don't.
like I said, I'm not as educated on it because I've only seen that one. I know obviously you saw the big one in what was it, 95, and
95 and the one that we just
we
went through
just
like
went through
2 years
years
ago.
ago, and the one that we think is going to happen in 2 years.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Oh, I
I'm
think so
about
too.
95% sure it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because the whole and that's gonna be that's a longer debate about salary cap and floor and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of discussed that already on the stream. If you didn't see, you can head back and
Yeah, I'm pretty
that.
adamant. I'm pretty adamant that we need a floor, but
I do
in order
too.
to get a floor,
You need a cap.
you have to have a cap. According to them, I don't think that's the case, but
But
according
yeah,
to everybody else, the
exactly.
owners think that there has to be a cap.
Well, the owners also, you know what? We could say a lot about the owners, but then we're going to be here all night.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not. So the next thing we'll talk about is actually before we talk about the other big news that came out this week, let's talk about. Actually, no, we'll talk about it now. The beard rule has finally been lifted. Yankees players are officially now to have a well kept beard as long as you don't look like the late 2010 Boston Red Sox and or Duck Dynasty. You can have a beard.
And or Brian Wilson or Sergio Romo.
Yes, no, none of that. But you and I had some differing opinions. We already kind of debated on it once, so we'll kind of just keep this brief. Vinny says it's a good idea because, it could keep free agents out. It's, I know I'm speaking for you, Vinny. I'm just gonna I'm summarizing it real quick, and if you got anything to add, I look at it as it's not that big of a deal anymore because it feels like the prestige of being a Yankee. Not winning a championship in 15 years, you've lost the prestige. So to me, it's not that big of a deal now. Do I like it? No, because I still think, well, we're the New York Yankees. I like that we were different from everybody else. But now that we've become everybody else by not winning anything, I think I can learn to live with it, especially being a man with a beard myself. Vinny, what would you like? Is there anything you'd like to add to it that we haven't already discussed?
I mean, if you did it for just Devin Williams,
that'd be kind of stupid.
That'd be kind of dumb, because now you're talking
because he did ask Cashman about it.
Well, and because the fact that you would say you don't have a chance to re-sign him after, if that's the case. Okay, well that we didn't do that, but I think Hal did his homework. I want to say like he was truthful when he was in the press conference saying that he asked a lot of players and a lot of people and other owners and other people. I think he said he even asked people not even in baseball.
Yes. Now I actually have to ask. Now I don't like Stephen A. on ESPN. I just don't.
Yeah.
And he was talking about this, and he actually did say something I agree with. Was there a need to make this a half-hour press conference?
No.
No, thank you. Because I look, you make the announcement, sure. Is it a big deal? For a lot of people, yes, because it's, it's a rule that has been highly debated a lot within the last what would you say, about 10, 15 years or so.
10, 15 years. Yeah.
Was there really a need to make this a whole half-hour press conference, get the whole New
No,
York media and
of
then
course not.
whatnot? And
Of course not. The fact that it was like breaking news on ESPN was like,
it's
oh my God,
stupid.
that's got to be the only thing that.
And you know what's funny about it, Vinny? Now you remember Chris, the kid that we had on here for WrestleMania, the post shows that we did.
Right,
He
right.
told me about it now we were working, right? I was at work, and he told me about it. I said, "Nah, that's fake. That was probably just a meme you saw or something like that." And I sit down and my phone was blowing up with notifications from ESPN, CBS,
Right.
MLB. It's like, all right, look, I get it. It's nothing to overlook, but it's nothing that they made it seem as if Shohei just got traded to the Rangers. It made no. It was stupid to
Listen,
me.
Thurman Munson had a 5 o'clock shadow when he played, and he was one
Yeah.
of the most popular players ever in Yankee
Mm-hmm.
history.
Yes.
So come on, man. There's really there's no big deal. Pettit did it. Clemens did it.
CC.
CC did it. Guys did it. They pitched like when they had a little bit of facial hair.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not going to be Duck Dynasty or
Thank goodness.
Brian Wilson or Sergio Romo with the huge beards or the idiots of the Red Sox when they were the
Yeah.
idiots. Yeah, it's not going
Disgusting.
to be that.
And we're
It's
New
not going to
York.
be
We're New Yorkers. We have high standards.
like I said. Once if they ever tried to change the rule about the names on the jerseys, then
Then
I
we
would
have
have
a
a problem.
problem. Then we have a
But,
problem.
but if this is just it and this is it, then I'm good with it.
We'll learn to live with it. Yes.
Even I could even take a City Connect jersey. I
And
would I wouldn't mind if it's as long as it's done
see,
well.
look, I
As
think.
long as it's done well, it's got to be done well.
See, I love the idea. See, I wouldn't even. You know what I would do? I
I just
wouldn't.
don't like being the only team without one.
Yeah, but see, instead of the City Connect, you know what I'd rather see? I'd rather see them use their spring training unis. The
Okay,
white,
that's but
the blue jersey.
listen,
I've loved those blue
I
jerseys,
don't want kids nowadays. Kids nowadays pick their favorite team based on the alternate jersey.
which I think is stupid. But
Okay, but I would rather have more Yankee fans.
oh, 100%. I mean,
um,
not that, do we really need any more? That's the question.
no, but I'm
We
just
play
saying
in the biggest market in the world.
I want to be like hip with the kids, man. And I know that sounds very old of me to say, but I'm old. But I want to see a City Connect jersey. I don't want to see those things that we had in
You just know,
for the players weekend,
just like
the little league things. I don't like those necessarily, but
no. I
you
mean,
know,
they started out great, and then when they went with the whole black and white thing in 2019, then it got stupid. See, the
yeah.
only issue you're going to deal with is, and this is even going with the beard thing and whatnot, is the old Italian Yankee fans.
I don't care
Oh,
about
do they have a lot
I
to
don't
say?
care.
And I'm Italian, so don't come at
I'm
me.
Italian
But
too, but
um,
my father, listen, my father is going on 83 this year. When
yes,
I mentioned the facial hair thing, he didn't say anything. He said, "Well, it's about time." That's coming
really.
from an 83-year-old Yankee fan. Okay.
See, I'll tell you the truth. If
He
my
did
dad,
say though, if you change the thing with the names on the back, he goes, "I
then
don't
you're
know if
gonna
I
have
can
a
go along with
problem.
that." Right.
But see, the
So
way I look at it is, I think me and my dad used to discuss it all the time. I think if he was here and he saw it, I don't think he's probably one of those that would probably say, "No, this is stupid,"
right.
because you know what it is too. And I can't fault the older Yankee fans because they grew up with that prestige, with that, oh, we're the Yankees because and we're a mile better than everybody else. So I don't fully fault them for being upset about it. That's why even
Mhm.
I'm kind of like,
It's
it,
dependent on where you came from though. If you
yeah,
were
that's what
because
I'd say.
that was around like Vietnam.
Yeah,
People were against there was a lot of people against the war, and it did get political, and people were like, well, you can wear a beard if you want, like
mhm,
why not? So depending on what side you were on,
yeah. It's
um
one of
back
those debates that everybody's gonna have for the rest of
so as long as it's well groomed and it looks okay, and like I
mhm.
said, Devin Williams, he's pretty clean when he has a beard.
Yes, he is.
He doesn't look bad with the beard.
Now, question
uh,
is they were talking about the ideas of who's gonna have beards, who isn't. Now, Aaron Judge says he's not, which I'm kind of glad he's not because I don't know if you ever saw the picture.
it doesn't look like Cody or Goldschmidt are gonna,
No,
but that's
when when he had a beard, Aaron Judge, he looked like Dak Prescott. Let's not bring that curse to New York, please
But it
and
looked
thank
like
you.
Cody and Cody's dad played for us, so I think he's
He
very
probably
respectful
expected
of
it.
the. He expected it. And I think Goldschmidt did
Goldschmidt
too
looks
because
like a gym teacher or something
looks
like
like
that now.
he looks so young.
Yeah. I know.
But I think some of the younger guys are gonna.
Wells is not going to grow one. He said, "Look, when I got drafted, I'm a Yankee. I expected this just the way he wants to keep it, and I respect that." Rodon said he's bringing his back, which I'll be
Good.
honest, his wasn't
Maybe he'll
well,
pitch better. He may
well,
pitch better with the
but he
beard.
needs to keep it better, well groomed. If you
And
looked at it
I don't
before, it was
think
kind of messy.
Cole did not. I don't know. Cole's kind of looked weird when he
His
had.
was kind of shaggy. I
He was
know.
shaggy when he was with the Astros. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
but
would have.
this
I
is
don't
kind of
know.
like a childish debate, but we
Yeah.
have a little bit of fun with it.
But
So,
anyway, I mean, it's not. I mean, if it makes players pitch better, good, or play better, good. If
but
they're
you
more
realize,
comfortable,
Vinny,
good.
if everybody that grows a beard starts to
Listen,
struggle, could you imagine the
I
backlash
know,
it's gonna take?
but if Rodon has a Cy Young year, I'm putting
But
it
I'm
on.
saying if
I'm
we
putting
get
it
the
on the
opposite,
beard.
if we get
Oh
the
yeah,
opposite, people are gonna
everybody.
lose their minds.
I know. I know.
So,
I know.
but anyway, we
I
won't
understand.
spend too much time on that. So the next
Yeah.
thing I want to talk about is spring training. Now, obviously, um, as of the time of recording, we are 3 games in. We saw the Yankees start. They started 1-2. They beat Tampa Bay on opening day. They lost to Toronto on Saturday, and then on Sunday they lost to the Tigers 4-0. And so the Yankees, we didn't really see a whole lot. We know we're not going to see most of the starters until after March 1st. So I mean, there's been some interesting takeaways. I mean, the new guys have looked good so far. Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, all have got several hits already. The big thing that worries me, and I'm sure I don't want to say it's a worry because we're 3 days in, 2 games. But Vinny, everybody's talking about it. Might as well throw our 2 cents in. I'll let you go first. You saw our live reactions. What are we thinking about what's going on with Jason Dominguez?
Man, it's tough to
overlook.
It's tough to watch. And I thought going into this spring that he was going to actually, be better in left field. I didn't think he would go out the first day I watch him play in left field and go out and actually misplay 2 balls out. I was.
People are going to argue the sun, but I don't think that works because you play a lot of day games.
That was horrible. That was horrible. Like today was very.
And it's serious when Vinny's actually upset because Vinny, we just talked about a week ago how spring training we don't worry about anything.
But one I would have been one I was like well, okay, it's spring training. 2 though, now you're getting into like we need a lot of work now, and I don't know if there's enough work that can be done.
It's only a month.
In a month, but I was reading Twitter and some people they're raging, man. Well, like more than I am. I mean, I'm not even raging. They're like, well, he better hit because if he doesn't hit, he can't field.
In a sense, do you think it's a little justifiable for the fact that Dominguez, he's been in camp since January. He's been there since January. I know he's been working hard on this, but transferring to another position is not easy. And the fact that we've worked on this
since it's not. You're right.
What, August, September? They've tried 100%. This left field experiment and it's not working. At what point do the Yankees finally say, this is not going to work? We need to figure it out. And no, bringing back Verdugo will not solve that problem. I'm just going to put that out there. I saw a lot of that today. No, Verdugo will not solve that problem. What I would do? I think it's a simple fix. If Dominguez can't figure it out, you put him back in center and you put Bellinger in left. That's the easiest way you can do is because who else are you going to play in left? If you're not going to take Bellinger out of center, who are you going to put in left? Yeah. Unless Spencer Jones goes off and hits 489.
There's going to be a lot of calls for Spencer Jones if he doesn't get out to a good start, or I see a lot of this on X of Fernando Tatis Jr.
Here we go.
You know,
I've heard
coming
this
to
too.
coming to the Yankees and playing the outfield, and maybe trading away. Maybe you trade away Dominguez and you make him a part of a deal.
What
But
did you think
do
about
we
it,
give up
Tatis?
on him? Do we give up on him that soon though?
No. And the
I
problem is
mean,
he was already set behind by 2 injuries. He had
he
the
hit
Tommy John,
well
and
when
then
he
he had
came
the
up the
injury
first time.
last year.
He hit well when he came up the first time against a
Yes, he
good
did.
pitcher, against Justin Verlander.
Yes.
Granted, he wasn't
On
Justin. I mean, he
on
was a good
national
Justin Verlander.
spotlight
Right.
on
Exactly.
ESPN, no less.
Exactly. So I think he's still got it. He still
Mhm.
has. I mean, he's still young. The kid is still young. He's 21 years old. I mean, come on.
I agree. He's younger than I am, which
Give him a break. Let him work out whatever he has to work out. If he
Mhm.
starts making a lot of errors during the
if
season,
I say if this
if he's like Aaron Hicks out there,
Mhm.
then we have a problem.
if this continues throughout spring training into the regular season, then a change needs to be made. I don't want to overreact just yet again because we're 3 days into spring training. And there's a lot that could change within a month. Baseball is one of those sports that takes time for things to change. And you know what? If Dominguez goes out and he plays a Gold Glove left fielder or even a halfway decent left fielder, this will all be forgotten. This will be all forgotten. But it's something that definitely we should look at and say, all right, that's not good. Like I said last week, you look at things and you got to say, all right, that's not good, but it's not the end of the world. Things can still change. So I'm not going to make this into a whole nightmare situation just yet. Got a lot, we still got time. Let's hope for the best.
I mean, I I was looking at a play in the Mariner game with the Angels, and it was the Angels, and I
Today's
believe
game
it was I think it
or
was
Saturday?
I think it might have been yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And the Angels left fielder, I forgot his name, lost the ball in the sun, and he was wearing sunglasses. So, and
I
that's
heard.
out and that's out
Well, I was gonna say I heard
in Arizona.
Cactus League. I heard the Cactus League catching outfields is literally
Yeah,
the worst frigging thing in the world when it comes to
yeah.
baseball. They
Literally,
say
guys were
if you
dropping
can be
balls.
an if you could be an outfielder in the Cactus League, they say you can play anywhere.
Right. I think it was CJ Crone. Maybe it was CJ Crone. I don't know, but
I'll pull up the lineup. I'll see.
it was yesterday's game. He made
As
an
it,
error. It was
yeah,
the left fielder. It was number 3.
I'm pulling up
Um,
the
I don't
scoreboard. This is from Saturday the 22nd,
the 22nd. It was Mariners Angels.
and yeah, this was their opening game.
Yeah.
If ESPN would cooperate with me, that would be fantastic.
I should have looked it up before I brought it up, but I
No,
just
that's
saw.
all right. So the
But
left fielder was
it seems like
Taylor Ward.
Tyler Ward. Okay,
Tyler
Tyler Ward.
Ward,
Now Tyler Ward.
solid left.
They said he was pretty solid,
Yeah.
and he's a veteran. He's
Mm-hmm.
played. You think all of a sudden he's? I mean, it just again, it's the first. That was literally, I
That's
think,
literally their
first or
first
second
game of the year.
So give him a few more games. If he starts making errors like towards the end of spring, then you're probably not looking so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
I agree.
I don't think there's a huge deal. I don't think people should say sky is falling at this point.
No, not yet. And that's how it is. New York fans jump on
And
everything.
didn't he like play left, and then didn't he go back and play center, and then came back and played left, Dominguez, last year?
It was a little bit of everything. That was, I think, the only reason he was in center proportions of last year is so they could give
So they
Judge
shuffled him around a lot. So
yeah,
right then and there, I could tell you right now, playing 2 different positions, center and left are 2 totally different positions.
and especially at Yankee Stadium.
And at Yankee Stadium.
And that's the one positive to Steinbrenner Field is you got the exact same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. So the Yankee Stadium left field is no cakewalk either. So.
But the sun this time in Florida and Arizona are pretty bad, and they're rough. So even with sunglasses on.
And this didn't only happen to Dominguez. There was another game today actually in the Cactus League as a Sunday that was same thing. Somebody dropped the ball. Yep. It's going to happen this time of year. And we talked about it on the stream. Defense, the first 2 weeks, you're not going to get a clinic. I'm going to tell you that right now. I mean, yeah, the young guys are probably going to put on a better performance defensively, but there's still a lot of work to be done because
I mean,
you got to
Volpe
remember.
had his problems today.
Well, you
I
got to
mean,
remember something. These guys only reported 5 days ago.
Right.
That's the other thing. They don't give these guys a big ramp up time. They showed up 5 days ago and they're already playing games. Actually, so a week ago, really.
Exactly.
So
let's give them a break.
Yeah, well, like I
I was
said,
a little
we have our
concerned after the second one, only because it was 2 in 1 game.
Yes. Had it
You
just been that
have
one, we could just say, well, son, well.
But I mean, the second one, he took a bad route to
Yes.
that ball. I mean, that was horrible. I mean, I could have, at my age, I could have taken a better route to that ball. I may not have gotten to it, but I probably would have been. And I played the outfield before. So,
okay. So, all right. All right. That
so I
makes sense.
kind of know, I kind of know, tracks to balls and stuff. But yeah, that was terrible.
That was rough. So I got one other topic I'm going to actually include. We didn't initially plan. It's nothing major, but we'll at least acknowledge it because it does affect all of baseball too. ESPN and MLB are officially done after this year. There will be no more ESPN Sunday Night Baseball as Rob Manfred has opted out of the last 2 years of the contract due to MLB not really covering Major League Baseball the way they should have, obviously focusing on NFL, which is always going to be top priority, but then the NBA and the NHL. So I'll say this. I know you call him Scamfred. I actually will say this is probably the best thing he has done in his time as commissioner because, ESPN, look, ESPN has gone downhill for a very long time anyway for a lot of different reasons. Their baseball coverage was one of them. Baseball coverage just has not been there. It has not been very good since what would you say, 2013, 2012, somewhere around that range?
Yeah, I would probably say that.
I actually think he made the right choice here. And actually, you know what? I think both parties win because ESPN announced that what they will do as a replacement is they're going to cover college baseball, which I actually like because you give the younger guys in the college level bigger spotlight. I can actually say that's a good thing. If I don't know how much they really cover college baseball when it's not time for the College World Series.
I think they cover Little League better than they cover baseball
MLB.
in
Yeah,
general.
I agree.
That Little League coverage is pretty cool.
Yes, it is. Well, the Little League World Series as a whole is always
cool. So they do a good job on the College World Series.
Yes, they do. So that's why I said I think everybody wins. MLB could figure out either do they want to keep doing Sunday Night Baseball to begin with, or do we?
It's time for a change though, because it gives ESPN time to kind of think about, hey, yeah, we weren't doing such a great job. Let's try to And I wish video games would do this before they sell their soul to a certain company.
I agree.
Like Madden's perfect example. Like the NFL just keeps selling it to Madden, and Madden has no.
They make their money. Madden's still one of Madden's still top 10. Madden is still top 10 in the most profitable games every year, and it's a horrible game.
And some would say that about MLB The Show too. People are like, why just give it to Sony? Why not give it to 2K? Why not give it to EA? Why give it to just San Diego Studios?
Yeah, I agree.
Listen,
because you know what? Then you have to put out the best possible product because
competition breeds better.
Exactly.
Better.
It's a new world we live in.
Yeah. Well,
unfortunately,
I think with this contract though, the way it is, I think this is the first thing Scamford has done.
Did right. Yeah, I agree.
That I agree. The first thing out of his mouth is said,
I'll ask you this: since the ESPN era of baseball is coming to an end, give me your favorite memory. Could be Yankees, could be anything. Because mine is simple. Mine was the A-Rod game versus Ryan Dempster and the Red Sox. Oh, that'll be my favorite.
You put me on the spot too because I haven't had a chance to. Damn. I don't. You know what?
I'll be honest, Vinny.
It's so. I remember more Fox and even back in the day NBC with Joe Garagiola and Joe Morgan. Now I'm going way back, bro.
Well, you have to admit something.
Those were more memorable, and even with Tim McCarver.
You got to admit something. Sunday Night Baseball.
I don't remember a lot of
not been kind to us. We've had a lot we've had a lot of bad memories on Sunday Night
I'm
Baseball
gonna
too.
listen. I'm gonna say there really hasn't been any for me great ESPN moments. The greatest moment in baseball, I think, was, and you weren't even alive when this happened. You saw this though.
Hmm.
Was when Deion Sanders, after winning that game in Atlanta, took the bucket of water and poured it all over Tim McCarver's head and said, and
Yes.
Tim McCarver turns around and says, "You're a real man, Deion." And that's when the war started between Deion Sanders and Tim McCarver.
Yes, it did.
And that was to me, one of the best moments as far as like entertainment went. It was great.
Yeah.
And baseball.
Hmm.
But I guess, I don't know, like ESPN didn't have much to me.
Well, like I said, I think the early to mid 2000s to 2010s, you had a lot of good moments with the Yankees and the Red Sox. Like I said, that A-Rod one always stands out to be the most. But like I said before, Sunday Night Baseball has not always been kind to us either. We always had to watch us play the Red Sox every week.
The problem is they don't build up. Like, you remember the Vince Scully call, Kirk Gibson?
Mhm.
That was one of the greatest moments of all time. I saw it live.
Yes.
That was one of the greatest. Like, and it wasn't a Yankee moment.
Well, if you remember, the problem too is Sunday
they don't
Night
make
Baseball.
these moments anymore.
Well, because they pick the same matchups every year. Like,
Right. So I don't.
it's either
I don't,
Yankees, Red Sox,
right. And I have
Giants,
no.
Dodgers,
Yeah.
Cardinals, Cubs, Phillies,
Right.
Braves, Phillies, Mets, and that's usually about it.
So
It's very rare we get
I'm gonna
anybody
have to
else.
say nothing on ESPN. Honestly, I mean, to answer your question, nothing.
I give you that.
I don't.
Hey, that's how you feel. I can't tell.
You
I
know,
can't tell you to think otherwise.
why do I? And number two, why do I don't care about a Cubs Cardinals game in the middle of
You
July.
gotta. Well,
You
unless
know, I understand. I understand you gotta have it on, but when the both teams aren't good,
well, that's the
you
thing.
gotta be able to. You gotta be
To
able to
me,
pivot.
Sunday Night Baseball should work just like Sunday Night Football. You should want your best matchup of the
You
weekend.
should be able to flex out some of those games.
That too.
That's a must. You
So
have to.
my prediction then for the future is I actually think if they don't go to another network or streaming service or something like that, I don't think they ever go to any sort of Sunday Night Baseball again, because you got to remember something, the travel problems it can cause.
Right.
Like if you're you're playing Yankees Red Sox and then Monday Yankees got to play out in San Francisco or something like that. Now you're creating a travel issue. So I actually think
But here's the other
Sunday
thing.
Night Baseball dies.
Here's the other thing. I don't think you have the great announcers that they had back.
Oh
and
no!
And this is me saying in my day, I don't think they have the announcers that can recreate that excitement anymore.
Honestly, the best call I ever heard from ESPN that I actually liked was the wild card game, the 2017 game against Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably their best. And you know what? If that's
who was
the best,
that, by the way? Do you remember who that was?
I can't remember his name. He does the games for the Blue Jays now. I can't remember his name.
Buck Martinez?
No, Dan something.
Dan Schulman?
Yes, Dan Schulman.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I know.
But the problem is, if that's your best,
Yeah,
now let me ask you this, Vinny. But with this being their final year, it was announced that Joe Buck will be calling our game against Milwaukee opening day.
Love that. I love.
So, do you think Joe Buck gets some more baseball action this year? That give ESPN baseball a good send off. Maybe you can make some moments.
Joe Buck is probably one of the only guys that I think that can actually create.
I'll say this because
even though I know Yankee fans don't like him.
Well, it's a controversial take for baseball in general, but I actually think when Joe Buck genuinely tries, he's the best in sports.
Listen,
one
his
of the
call
best.
Of Charlie Hayes, the Yankees are champions of baseball. I love that call.
But the problem is everybody, sometimes the bad just outshadows the good with him. Like the Eagles Bucks wild card game.
I understand.
So like I said, when he tries, he's actually at his best.
Right.
So
but
you know what?
He's kind of like, I mean, I don't know. You gotta figure, like, sometimes the game has a lot to do with it too, and the flow.
That's
and
true.
You've
even
called
in the biggest games, he didn't. Like
I wasn't into all those, like some of those Ferry Hawk games we were doing that were.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, because
21 to 3
blowouts.
Blowouts.
But yeah, that's when it
those
turned
are hard.
into.
Those are
that's
hard.
When it turned into
hard
this.
games. those are hard games to call,
But the
man.
problem was Joe Buck did that in a lot of good games too, and it
Yeah,
kind
he
of
did.
ruined.
He did. He did.
But anyway,
Anyway,
that pretty much sums that up. The last thing I got that we could really bring up, this is more if you go to Yankee
not
Stadium,
really a huge deal,
not a
really.
big deal. I actually kind of like it. I love it and hate it at the
I like
same
it. I
time.
like it. They
Is
should be doing it. Go ahead.
That's life will now be played after losses. And I
Mhm.
joked with you before we went on. I said, well, it's good that they're not playing New York anymore for a
Yeah,
loss because that just never made sense. It's
right.
celebratory music after a loss. No, they
Yeah,
never made sense.
I always when
But
I went the first year they did that, I'm like, are they playing Frank?
yeah, after a
Because
loss,
they usually would play like
after a win, that makes sense.
no, but they would play New York with like a different singer, not Frank at one
Well,
point.
I know it was remastered in like '09. I don't know.
Right,
I
but they
don't know the
did
full
like
story behind it.
they would have like Liza Minnelli or somebody singing
Yeah, something
New
like
York,
that. Yeah, I
rather
agree.
than
But I
but yeah,
said I
I
joke
like
with
it.
you.
I like
I joked with you before. I said, could you imagine though? You stick it out through a whole game. You watch it.
mhm.
You watch the Yankees get blown out, especially if it's against a team like Houston, Boston, Mets, whoever.
Mhm.
Imagine walking out to that's life. Tell me you would not get like super angry for like no reason. Like I think of the
Yeah,
Joker when I hear that's life, and I
yeah,
feel like if I hear that after a blowout loss, I'm gonna be ready to.
I get it. I
I'd be
get it.
ready to scream. I think
Yeah.
it's funny though. That's why I love it.
But I like it because like we didn't win anything. We didn't win. We don't get to
No,
we don't
why
deserve getting
celebrate?
New York.
No,
Yeah,
you don't.
exactly. Yeah. So
So
so I like it. I think it's
I
good.
like it too. I think it's an addition that needed to be made. But I heard there were still a few old school Yankee fans complaining about that too. So
You know, but what's the difference between you play New York, and it's not Frank for a loss,
well,
and
Frank is
not
the most iconic.
just not playing it at all?
Well, Frank is just more iconic.
Because there were the Yankee fans
But
weren't
didn't they say they were
complaining
going
when
to
the Yankees
vary
were
it
down,
too? Didn't they say
right?
they
But
were going to vary it from just that's life?
Yeah, but I
I
mean,
don't
the
know what
Yankee
else they're going
fans
to play.
didn't complain when it was somebody else singing New York when they lost.
No, but
I think it's just the song in general that they want played. I just
mhm.
I don't know. That confuses me a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey, look, we only
and
go to.
honestly, I don't think a lot of people really pay attention.
Oh no,
So
honestly, I think the only time people actually like genuinely care is when they win, because then you got the whole stadium singing, which I still think is probably the coolest part of a Yankee. One of the coolest parts of going to a Yankee game is if they win, you got the whole place singing New York, New York. That's my favorite thing to do.
especially during the playoffs. During the playoffs,
Forget it. That's
when they win, you stay and you sing New
oh
York,
you
and
that's got to be like one of the most magical feelings in the world.
yeah, yeah,
So
that's
we'll pretty
definitely
much we'll wrap it up with that. Got plenty of spring training action still to come this week. We'll talk more about that next week. Reminder: our next Yankees live stream will be Monday, March 3rd, when the Yankees take on the Pittsburgh Pirates at 6:35. Our coverage will begin at 6:30 with a little mini pregame, and hopefully by the time March hits, we'll actually get to see more of the big guys like Aaron Judge and whoever else may be available. So I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we'll even get even more lucky and we'll see a Paul Skeens matchup. I'd love to see that again.
that would
But
be great.
nonetheless, we'll see you then. Next stream you will see next week. We'll talk more about whatever news may break throughout the week, and we'll talk about what our thoughts are throughout spring training. Has got lots of action this week. Just hope the weather doesn't play too much of a factor. For little breaking news, if we do get this up before the Yankee Red Sox game on Monday, that game was already moved back because of the weather. So sounds like rain could be an issue because Florida's gonna Florida. It's always got to rain.
It's
Like at
gonna rain.
Daytona last week for the 500, at 1:30 start to the race ended at 9:30.
It's gonna
So
rain.
we'll see. If every game gets rained out, this is gonna be a boring show next week. I'm gonna just put that out there.
That is correct. That is
But
correct.
thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you all in the next one.